My name is Alberto Gonzales. I'm currently the dean at Belmont Law School in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a Texan, but I've lived in Nashville since 2012. We love it here. It's a growing, vibrant community. And Belmont is a relatively small college. We have about 8,000 students. I've held a number of positions in my legal career, which if you've studied me at all, you probably know some of them or all of them. I've been in private practice. I've held state and federal government jobs. I've held state and federal government offices. I've been a judge. Now I'm a dean in academia. So pretty much what you can do with a law degree, I've done it. And it's one of the great benefits of actually going to law school. You may not really ever need to practice law. I think that certainly in the United States, lawyers are held in high esteem, just irrespective of the lawyer jokes that you might hear from time to time. When people get into trouble, they turn to lawyers. And so I always like to say that lawyers are a force for good. And then when I'm talking to students and I'm trying to recruit, I always like to say that we're preparing the next generation of lawyers for our community, for our country, and for people around the world to solve the problems that exist and currently confront many of us in different countries. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Ralph, and maybe people have some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a question from Alice in Italy. And Alice, okay. I'll go ahead and unmute you, Alice. You had a really good question. Go ahead.
Hi, and thank you for being here. My question is, how was it like to work with George Bush?
Well, I've known George W. Bush since he was first elected governor in 1995. So that was quite a long time ago. He has his mother's personality, Barbara Bush. George W. Bush is someone who doesn't take himself too seriously, although obviously he knows how to be serious when occasion calls for it. I always like the fact that he was always able to laugh at himself if he mangled the English language or he did something that was, maybe perhaps embarrassing. He never had a problem laughing. He never took himself too seriously, except, of course, on those occasions when a serious nature was absolutely expected and required. I very much admired him and still do admire him. He is someone that gave me several once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. And one of the things I always try to impress upon young people is you need to get a great education, work hard and prepare yourself, because you never know when the next George W. Bush is going to come along and give you a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And you've got to be ready to seize it. And you get ready by that preparation. And of course, having the courage to grab it. I know some people, when they're confronted with an opportunity, sometimes they take a step back and they said, you know what, I'm not sure I'm ready for that. Or I'm not sure I can be successful with that. I'm worried about failing and being criticized. I'm worried about being criticized in the press. I'm worried about making a mistake. You can't be that way. If someone sees value, sees promise in you, and offers you an opportunity, you've got to take advantage of it. Because another opportunity like that may never come along again. So bottom line for me, as I'm a huge George W. Bush fan, I'm a fan of their families. I'm obviously very prejudiced because of the opportunities that he gave me, but it's good. He has showed loyalty to me and I show loyalty back. I'm often asked about the value of loyalty. You cannot expect loyalty from your subordinates in particular, or your friends, if you don't give loyalty back. Very, very important. Next question.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. And we appreciate everything that the Bush family has done. And one of our kids in Spain emailed me. They wanted to know, who was somebody that you looked up to when you were growing up?
I grew up in a very poor family. My dad had a second grade education. My mom had a sixth grade education. We were very, very poor. There were 10 of us that lived in a small 2-bedroom house in a community called Humble, Texas, as you may have read about. Honestly, growing up, it was my mom and dad. From my dad, I learned the value of hard work. He was an incredibly hard worker. He was an alcoholic, and there would be some weekends that would be pretty tough. But no matter how difficult they were, he always got up to work early on Monday mornings and went to work because he understood it was his job to provide for the family, that we were all counting on him. And he worked hard, one of the hardest working person I've ever known. And from my mom, I learned the value of education and the value and the importance of religion in one's life. She only had a sixth grade education. She had to drop out of school because of the family migrating and picking crops. And so it just was impossible for her to remain in school. But she loved reading and she loved education. She really pushed us in that field. And with respect to religion, my mom, strong, very, very strong Catholic, and always insisted that we were at church on Sunday mornings. No matter how difficult Saturday night may have been for my dad, we were getting up for church and we were going to church. And, I developed a love for God and I believe in faith and I believe in Jesus Christ. And that is part of what defines me and I think is a part of my success.
Thank you very much for that, for a poignant answer. And one of our students in France messaged, they wanted to know what were some subjects that you were passionate about when you were younger, in middle school and high school age?
Actually, baseball, sports. I was a pretty good student in high school. Somehow, I made the honor roll and was in the honor society. But I guess I would have been considered somewhat of a jock. I played baseball and football, ran track, and it's something that I enjoyed doing. Looking back now, I probably enjoyed more history. I love English literature, and I loved political science. I wasn't too crazy about chemistry and math, and which was a challenge for me because when my first place I went to college was U.S. Air Force Academy. When I graduated from high school, I wasn't going to go to college. No one really encouraged me to go to college. So I was kind of lost, and I thought, well, I'll listen to the Air Force. I'll get I'll learn a trade. I might be able to see, parts of the world and, maybe earn the GI Bill to help, pay for my college education down the road. And I was in the Air Force for 2 years. I got stationed in Fort Yukon, Alaska. There I met 2 Air Force Academy graduates, and they took an interest in me and encouraged me to get an appointment to the Air Force Academy. And so when I got to the academy, I realized how much math and science and chemistry you have to master there. And I left after 2 years because I wanted to be a pilot, and my eyes turned bad. And so I went to Rice University. And at that point, I took political science, history, and English courses. And those are the ones that I really liked. And sort of piqued my interest in going to law school.
We have a question from Alessandra in Italy. And Alessandra, you should be able to unmute to ask.
Hi, why did you choose to study law at Harvard, and how was it studying to Harvard?
Well, it's a great privilege. It's one of the finest law schools in the country. I was fortunate. I did pretty well in college, and typically what you do, for those of you thinking about going to law school, at least in the States, you graduate from college, hopefully you've done well in GPA, and you do well on your law school admissions test, which is something that most law schools require. Kind of gauges whether or not how successful you might be in law school. And I did pretty well on that. And so I got into Harvard, I got in Yale, and I got into a lot of great schools. I decided to go to Harvard because it's a great school, but also because as a Texan, I knew I didn't want to live on the East Coast. I just had no interest. And I knew I would never really spend much time there in Boston. Harvard is in Cambridge, which is a small town right outside Boston. So I decided to go to Harvard because I thought, well, Boston would be nice. And so after 3 years, I returned to Texas, and that's what I did. I remember the first time, though, I went to the campus. I was on my 10-speed bike, and I rode up to Langdale Hall, which is a library at Harvard, and it just suddenly hit me. My goodness, I mean, this is Harvard Law School. It's got a great history. Many of our great judges, political leaders, leaders in our society, in American society, have graduated from Harvard Law School. And so I realized then what a great privilege it was. And, when you go to a school like that and you do reasonably well, then afterwards you have great opportunity to do things. And I was hired by one of the best firms in the country in Houston and did that for 13 years. That probably wouldn't have happened if I hadn't gone to Harvard. Who knows? But I think it's helped me all along the way. I mean, people look at my resume and they say, well, you went to Harvard Law School. That's pretty good. I think you should all try to get into the best school that you can. Obviously, sometimes finances creates a challenge. Most law schools, will try to find a way to help you. But try to get into a good college, get into a good law school, and do the very best you can. You can't depend upon, what I can say is it will be one of the factors that will influence the trajectory of your life. People are going to look at your GPA, they'll look at how well you've done in school, and in terms of evaluating whether or not I want to give this person an opportunity. So whatever you do, wherever you go, study hard, work hard.
That's some great advice, and we'll go with a couple more questions. Then we'll let you go. Mr. Hernandez's class down in Miami, at Mater Bay, they wanted to know what was your favorite moment, most memorable moment working in President Bush's administration.
Well, when you go to work in the White House, I'm not kidding. If you're an American citizen, every day is special. Every hour, every moment, the decisions that are made there by the most powerful person in the world. I mean, it's why I went to law school. I went to law school because I wanted a job, a career where I felt like I was making a difference. All of us, I think, are given special talents and gifts, and I believe we have an obligation to take advantage of that, to help others, to serve others. And so being in the White House was so incredibly cool. It's hard. There were so many moments that are unforgettable. I'm often asked, of all the jobs you ever had, which one do you like? Which did you enjoy the most? Being Attorney General of the United States, I mean, you're a cabinet secretary, you go to cabinet meetings. The Attorney General is driven around in 2 FBI Suburbans with FBI agents carrying machine guns. You fly around the world in an FBI Learjet. I mean, it's pretty cool. It really is. But you're also involved in the most controversial decisions. You're criticized all the time. You're always interviewed by the press, queried by the press. You have to go testify before Congress. So it can be a very difficult job. The most fun is working as a staffer in the White House. Now, White House counsel is a job that I had. It's a powerful, influential position, but it's not like being in the public eye like the Attorney General. And so working with the president that you admire is something that in the White House was a great privilege. And it's just hard for me to say this was the most fun, whether it's playing golf with the president, playing horseshoes with the president, watching a movie with the president in the White House. I mean, state dinners, Camp David, flying aboard Air Force One. I mean, come on, it's just hard to rank which of these events or occasions were the most memorable.
That is absolutely unimaginable. So before we let you go, sir, is there any advice that you could give Judge Gonzales to all of these students around the world, whether they want to go into law or they want to go into another profession? What kind of advice would you give to them as someone who's pretty much done everything you can imagine in your industry?
I would say whatever you choose to do, and let's just take law because I know it the best. I often talk to our graduating students about their options and what they should do. First of all, get an education. That's critical. It really is. And I think there are many ways you can find a way to get an education, people that'll help you, no matter your financial circumstance, your family situation. You get a good education, then get a job. It may not be in your preferred field, but the first thing to do is just find a job that you can provide for yourself and your family if you happen to be married at that particular point in time. But within relatively short order, find what it is that you really enjoy, that gives you pleasure and joy. And I think it'll most likely be in public service in some way. You have a lifetime to make money. I have a lot of law students who talk to me about whether or not they should work at a big firm. They have debt, and I get that. That's important. You've got to take care of that. But you do have a lifetime to make money, and so at some point in your career, make time to do some public service for some period of time. The truth of the matter is, our world has serious, serious issues. The United States has serious issues. I know other countries have serious issues. Those issues will not be addressed without strong, servant-centered leadership. And so you truly are the next generation of leaders for our respective countries. So I care about the decisions you make, because those decisions are going to affect my children and they're going to affect my grandchildren. And so just be mindful of the obligation you have once you receive that education, to take that education and do good, make a difference. As I said before, you have a lifetime to make money. And I think too many people get wrapped up in trying to make as much money as they possibly can. Hopefully you'll make enough money to be comfortable, to provide for your family, but find some time to give back.